Welcome to the Alpha Mirror Podcast, the show where we strip away the ego, face the truth, and build the strongest version of you. Hosted by Jason Conner, combat veteran, NLP master practitioner, seven-figure business owner, and best-selling author of Parenting Your Inner Child. Welcome to the show.
Welcome back to another episode of the Alpha Mirror. I'm your guide, Jason Conner, and today we're going to get right into it. Today's episode, why do we hurt the people close to us the most? And when I told you I'm going to lead from the front and rip myself open so others know it's okay to step forward as well, we have a very special guest. Hollie Conner, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. You nervous?
What's there to be nervous about?
There's
it's
nothing,
life, right?
Exactly nothing to be nervous about. I appreciate you coming today. You look beautiful as always.
Oh, thank you, baby.
So, of course, I wanted to have you on here today because you have been my biggest supporter through all of this. You have seen the downright ugliness of what trauma does to somebody, what post-traumatic stress does to somebody. You have seen the worst of the worst that I could have. You've seen the worst of the worst. There's no shaking that. But you have been resilient and steadfast by standing next to me, arm in arm, or as we call it, going through the dark storms. Right. And we have gotten to the other side. And now, of course, we are shepherding out to other people to hopefully bring them through it as well. So super excited to have you here today. Just to, I know a lot of listeners, especially the wives and the girlfriends of us alphas and guys like me are going to, look forward to your insight. So let's just get into it. You want to?
Let's get into it.
So, you've heard this saying, we've always hurt the people close to us the most. Why do you think that is?
We're definitely, I think, most comfortable with the people that we're closest to, the ones who love us, whether it be family or even it could be really close friends who maybe have become family. I truly think it's a comfort level. Mm-hmm. You finally feel comfortable with them. I think, for you, you kind of took the mask off and pulled the curtain back very early on in our relationship with me. And you, I think, maybe at times you're like, oh no, I got to put it back on. But for you, I think that was you let me in and you knew that I loved you unconditionally. And that's kind of how it happens.
Yeah. So, it was very early, and for me, that's why I've always pushed people away and just really self-sabotage anything good in my life because I was scared for them to get close. Right. And I think we all do that. We all interview well, mm-hmm. right? And then once you start getting comfortable with somebody, do you think it's that just like alpha males just like feel safe and when that safetiness comes out, they let their guard down and just those things just naturally come out? Because obviously, like, we know it's not them. We know that we're not targeting you, that you just happen to be there. Do you think it just comes to a place that we feel safe? Or do you think it's just, this person's in front of me? Like,
I think it's probably a combination of all things, safety, comfort. You're typically the one that's around that person the most, or at least when they're not on, right? You're around that person when they're not trying to maybe be another persona that they're trying to fake. And also unconsciously. I truly feel that part of it's done unconsciously.
Yeah, it's definitely all unconscious because if we were conscious about it, we'd just be a psychopath. I might have skated that line a time or two, but it was always, guys like me, we don't want to hurt the people that are in front of us, right? We just lash out and you're right there. And I know we've had these conversations a million times. It's like, it's not you, but you're like, it is, mm-hmm. right? And we just, you're that person there that takes the blunt, but like, at least for the listeners and the wives and the girlfriends speaking, like, just like talk to them about that. Like we know it's super difficult to be in that moment and try to see the light at the end while understanding what your spouse or your boyfriend or your person is going through. because those words cut deep, right? We're not talking physical, but
Right.
verbal,
verbal,
emotional abuse. That's what it is. As I said, I've been 100% guilty of that. But look, I don't know if I'm asking the right question, but like, what are your thoughts or advice to women that might be going through that right now that just can't seem to see the end, to see the light at the end of the tunnel?
I think I kind of want to step that question back a little bit. Not everyone should probably stay with someone who is treating them that way. And I want to make that very clear. For me, I knew that you were my person. It was a God thing. It happened from the minute we met. You know it. I know it.
Is that when you touched my leg?
So for whatever reason, God brought us together. I knew that we were supposed to be together. You knew that we were supposed to be together. And shortly after, we had been together for a long time, starting to, spend a lot more time with each other. And definitely when we started living together, I noticed that like you were really suffering from PTSD. I mean, the nightmares, they would keep me awake. And what they did to you was even worse.
Yeah.
So when I encouraged you to get help, I knew in a way that was going to be a journey that I had to walk as well. At times, I'll be honest with you, I didn't know that it was going to be as difficult as it was. I thought that it was going to be a linear journey. And by linear, I mean like everything just stepped 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. I mean, you went through, I say we because we walked through the journey together. You went through so many different modalities of therapy, from traditional therapy to EMDR to hypnosis to NLP to being a master practitioner through NLP, firewalking. And truly, at the end of all of this, you wrote your book. But before you wrote your book, you got that relationship with God. And I think that's where it all came together for you. But walking through that journey was very difficult at times because me, as your supporting spouse, I thought, I remember thinking when you were going through EMDR, oh good, this is what's gonna work. This is gonna fix him. And when you got through EMDR and it didn't give the result that at least I expected, I don't know if it gave the result that you expected. I was like, like what's gonna work? Something's got to work. Mm-hmm. But we both knew that this isn't who you are. You just needed a little bit of help and you needed to take a look inside yourself. So you could spend tens of thousands of dollars on therapy, and it could be tons of different types of modalities of therapy. But until you individually go inside yourself and say, what's missing? What do I really need to break down? And stop being fake and stop, as I would say to you all the time, stop trying to be the grizzly bear, because you put on this persona and this mask of being a grizzly bear. You're tall, you're a big guy, you're loud. You walk into a room, your presence is automatically known. And, your initial unconscious reaction to so many things is, like the grizzly bear. That is not who you are. I know who you really are. And I kept telling you, you have to let people know who you really are.
Yeah.
And it's really the big teddy bear.
Yeah.
And until recently, you haven't been able to let people see that true you.
Right.
And some people like who the real Jason is. And other people like who the old Jason was because they took advantage of the old Jason.
Yeah.
They could manipulate the old Jason.
Yeah. Yeah. New Jason stopped performing, for old Jason. We no longer want to be the one that keeps the family photo intact, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I get that. Let's. You mentioned things. You said all the modalities and the therapies and this. Why do you think just men or women in general, especially take it from a women's standpoint, like what's wrong with just like traditional therapy, or is it because like mental health is taboo? We don't want to talk about it, or is like why is it that me, somebody else, or again, just take it from women, let's have to go through so many modalities until we finally get help? I think I know the answer to that, but I'd love for the listeners to hear from you.
Yeah, I think part of it, you hit the nail on the head. I do think even today, in today's society, I still think mental health is taboo. And we have to each do our own, we have to each be an advocate for that and change that. Yeah. Mental health should not be a taboo in today's society. It really should not. Mental health professionals have the best intentions in all they do, but if they haven't walked through that storm, a book can tell you one thing, but in theory, but in reality, it's very different.
Yeah.
And until you've walked through that, sometimes you aren't able to truly help someone. But in addition, if you are not ready to help yourself, nothing you do is going to work.
Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Like, we're not going to convince anybody to let go of the prom that they have if they don't want to. Like, if it's that important for you to hold on to your prom, we'll let you hold on to it. We'll hold space for you. Going back to like our arguments, disconnects, fights, whatever you want to label them. Like, what part of you showed up first in that? Your adult self or your inner child? And I say that because my actions towards you, not intentionally, as we know, obviously set triggers for you from your past, but it was your inner child, younger version of you. It's like, who do you think shows up first in your defense?
I think it's probably different for everyone. And depending on the instance and how you may have triggered me, either my younger self, my inner child reacted, or it was my adult self. So in my situation, I struggle with leading with my feminine energy. Yeah. For my entire adult life, I have not been with a strong man. I've had to be the one to lead with I've had to lead with my masculine energy, whether that was in a relationship, in the corporate world. I had to lead with my masculine energy. So leading and stepping into my feminine energy is something that I struggle with, but I'm also working on.
Yeah. And I think, the more the man can be the man in a healthy relationship, the more allows the women to step into that feminine energy, be sexy, and just make herself feel so good and loved, right? When the man's taking care of what the man's supposed to do.
Exactly. Wow. So, kind of to readdress your question, kind of answer it more directly, it would depend on the situation, who reacted there. But also, I'm quick to snap back.
Oh, are you? Shocker.
I know that about myself. It's something that I'm continually working on. Obviously, going through the NLP practitioner training myself, I have learned a lot. But again, you have to consciously catch yourself doing unconscious behaviors. And so for me, if I want to say something in response to you when I feel disrespected, through trial and error and very consciously and deliberately, saying maybe the same thing, but saying it a little differently, saying it in a softer tone, saying it with softer words, I'm going to get a much different reaction out of you than if I kind of snap right back at you, which is my natural inclination and a protective mode for me as well.
Yeah, so brings me right into my next point. Let's just get down to it with the audience. What is something that that I've done in the past to hurt you? Not because of what I said, but how I said it.
I mean, camping.
Next question.
So for those of you who may or may not know, we recently bought a travel trailer because we've become empty nesters, and we decided it was a good idea for us to start camping. We've had a lot of good and bad experiences with that. But I remember a couple of trips ago we took, and it was a bad day. I mean, let's just call it the way it is. It was a total poop show of a day. From the way the GPS got us to this particular campground, to taking a wrong turn in the campground and having to do a multi-pivot turn to get turned around.
No stuff.
And then we finally get to our campsite and getting backed into the campsite and all the things.
In the tree.
And the tree in the way. And
Couldn't see.
It was not neither one of ours best day. But we got set up and we made it through. And then later that evening, there were other people pulling into the campground.
The old man and woman.
The old man and the woman.
Then the younger couple
folks,
with the motorhome.
Yeah, the folks at the motorhome. And I remember sitting outside and I just looked at you and I go, that's what it sounds like when a husband doesn't yell at his wife setting up their camper.
Yeah, but,
And I know that you're not yelling at me,
right.
but you typically always go to, Hollie, you lead with my name. And I'm like, what did I do?
No.
You're mad at the situation, but you direct it towards me.
What do you think women can do to help their spouse, partner, whoever, in those moments? Is like, they're upset. It's a situation. It's not you. They're directing it towards you. What do you think? What can somebody do in that? Is that we've learned, doing everything? Because now, as we know, like we've overcome that. We've done a couple trailer hookups and disconnect, and it's like, yo, sway bar is cool, pin cool, high five, and like everything's good.
Yeah.
But obviously, you have to stay grounded, knowing that's your person. You're going to work through it. But what can women or men do from your standpoint?
I think the best thing that I can do is not react.
Yeah.
Is to stay quiet.
Which is not in your DNA.
That is definitely not in my DNA. But staying quiet allows me not to snap back. Mm-hmm. Gives you a minute to not get more elevated and more heated because I've snapped back at you. But then after the fact, I have noticed, at least with our relationship, when I stay quiet, you realize what you've done.
Yeah.
And you're like, after we're past the situation and, things have de-escalated on your side, you're going to come back and say, hey, sorry, like I didn't handle that right.
Right.
I didn't mean to snap at you on that. I need to do better.
Right. What do you I love this, by the way. I love this. And I hope you're all loving this as well. But, I don't want to sugarcoat this. Like, I don't want to skip the fact of what it is. I have said nasty things in your direction to you at times, in your direction at times, things that obviously I regret that we say in the heat of the moment. What does that do? Like, tell me about what that does to you. So especially women can understand that they're not alone in this, that what they're feeling is real.
Personally for me, it brings me back to more of a childhood trigger.
Yeah.
My dad was loud. He had a commanding tone. He would yell a lot when we were younger. He's totally changed his, demeanor, as he's gotten older. Yeah. But when we were younger, there was a commanding, loud tone and a lot of yelling. There was a lot of negative reinforcement of all the things you did wrong, and there wasn't much positive reinforcement in talking about the things you did right. So you could literally tell me something nice, but if your tone is wrong and you're just saying it kind of in a more of an angry tone, it's just going to make me shut down.
Yeah. And then on the flip side of that, not on the flip side, like, what do you think you've learned the most throughout this whole journey? At least, in the last, we're going to be together 6 years next month.
I know.
That's crazy.
We've been through a lot in about 6 years.
6 years. We have been through a lot. Wow. But we're here. That's what we need to celebrate.
And we want to be here.
And we want to be here. And we're not fake by any means. Like, I'm calling myself out. But again, like, we always hurt the people closest the most. And some people don't get a second chance or a third chance or a fourth chance, or in my case, a million chances. I don't know how many chances I have had, but I've definitely had more than my share. I've said this, and I'll say it here, looking at all of you, like, I've told this woman I don't deserve her in the past, right? Yeah, like, why are you here? I even left one time with my red suitcase. It was empty.
Your empty red
It was
suitcase.
an empty red suitcase. I'm just like, well, if you're not going to leave me, I'm going to leave, just because, like, I didn't want to put her through this anymore. You know, it was like, we feel that we're, as men, like, we feel that we're broken. And until you get help, you don't realize that you're not broken. You're just misunderstood and misaligned. And you just need to raise that hand and be like, I'm not okay. But I know I've caused great pain, but also a lot of happiness now. And we have a lot of exciting things to look forward to. I'm going to get my redemption on camping here in a couple of days as we're getting ready to hit the road again. But, you know, any like just final thoughts, words of encouragement, anything that you say to the listeners, anything at all that you just want to say? I mean, just let it rip.
I can say a lot here.
The floor is yours.
I think if I was talking to any woman who's walking through this with their significant other, or even if it's a man walking through it with their significant other, on the flip side, you have to be strong yourself in order to help them, but you can't lose yourself along the way. That is so important. And do the things you need for you to keep yourself mentally strong, happy, physically healthy, because if you don't put yourself first, you're not going to be able to help them, and you're not going to be any good to anyone else.
Yeah.
You've always been a very big advocate of self-care for me, because I typically would not be one to put myself first. That's one of the things I appreciate about you. You're like, you need to do things for you, whether it's a massage or a pedicure, or, you know, just going out to dinner with girlfriends, or just taking a walk, going to Pilates classes when I did that. Whatever it was my self-care. And you were always a big advocate of it. You always make sure we had money to do that so I could do that. You know, looking back on it, if I didn't have those opportunities, I may not have been able to remain as strong for you. You know, in our situation, I know where I'm supposed to be with you. I wasn't going to walk away. You know, there was a time where I broke. I'm sure you remember that time. We were driving, and I had this like complete breakdown.
In Columbia.
Yeah. And he had to pull off the road because I was crying so hard that I was hyperventilating. I've never cried like that before, even when someone very close to me has passed away. But I was to the point where I could not take any more of your behavior. Not you, your behavior. At that point, we had been through everything. You knew better. Your behavior was not acceptable. And I had to get to the point where I broke to stand in my power. Mm-hmm. Because at that point, whether it was conscious or unconscious on your end, it had to stop.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's in that Oops. Story. The ghost knocked that off?
I think it was my foot.
Her foot. You know, that story actually leads to the chapter in the book where my ultimate breakthrough came. You know, we did have this fight over a sandwich, over a pastrami sandwich,
over not being able to get a sandwich.
Not getting over a pastrami sandwich, and I fucking lost control. How pathetic of me. Here I am arguing with my wife, who was already on the edge. I got nasty, real nasty. That's when, you know, pulled over. I got her home. You know, I had been smoking marijuana that day, which was making me irritable. The deal was no more marijuana. Good. A week later, we go to Atlantic City. A form of marijuana, a gummy, gets into me, and the rest is in the book. So if you want to know the rest, it's the book. But that's where my ultimate breakthrough with Hollie and myself came through, was in Atlantic City, because I went home that night when I thought she was going to leave. And I've said this a lot. I know you've heard me if you've been following my story. I laid up in bed. It's in the book as well. I laid up in bed. I looked at God. I said, God, what's wrong with me? Remember, at this point, I've been through all the modalities, all the therapies. Like, I'm my coaches, my mentors, Greg, everybody. But like, I'm still fucked up. Like, what's missing, man? Like what's wrong with me? Show it to me, please. Like, whatever it is, show it to me. And you said, when I got back in my faith, and he showed it to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. You remember walking into the hotel room and I'm crying. And you're like, why is Jason crying? And next thing you know, I'm talking in tongue. I'm rocking back and forth on the bed. Hollie's texting my, Greg and saying 911. It was crazy. But I saw what I needed to see to finally heal. That's what this work takes. You got to go so deep to a point that you didn't even know existed. But I
feel like you had to step into your faith, right?
Yeah.
You had to get vulnerable enough
to
a position where you're like, God, like, hit me with it. Get it all out.
Get it.
Like, we've been piecing this together. Like, give it to me. Hit me. But you had to step into your faith. You had to begin a relationship with God, because you really hadn't had a big relationship with God up until the last 18 months or so. But beginning your relationship with God, growing in your relationship with God, has really helped you kind of close the whole loop of your healing.
I'm so
proud of me.
I'm proud of you.
Well, I'm proud of you.
Well, I'm proud of you more.
Is this like, I love you more?
I know this is not easy to talk about, but as I said earlier, all honesty or all progress starts with the truth, right? So greatly appreciate you having here. Any final words?
No, I'll just say that if anyone, would like to talk about this topic, I'm free. It's something that I'm passionate about. I'm here to help people. I do have a passion to want to help others kind of walk through this path. I know it's difficult. I've been there. I've walked the journey, and there are still days where we do walk it. As Jason likes to say, we're all still healing. We can be through a healing journey, but there are still some parts of us where we're all still healing. So please reach out to me, either through Jason or social media, and I'd be happy to help you. And most importantly, don't forget about yourself. Don't lose yourself. And I guess that's it.
I'm so proud of you. Lean in a little bit. Take a breath. Close your eyes. As you go to sleep tonight, ask yourself this question and let it land where it lands. What lie do you keep telling yourself that you wish wasn't true? I'm Jason Conner, and this is the Alpha Mirror.
Thank you for listening to the Alpha Mirror podcast. Remember, the mirror never lies. It reflects the man you choose to become. So this week, ask yourself, what will my reflection say about me? Be sure to like, share, follow, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star review. Join me on this journey to redefine what it means to be an alpha. Until next time, keep facing the mirror, because that's where the alpha is born.